Hi guys, I hope you're doing well today. My name is Irene and this is Hairy Lifestyle. Today I am joined by a very special lady, a person I have met online, someone I have met online and interacted with online. And I'm so glad she's in our show today. She'll take us through a lot to do with the internet and the world of safety on the internet. So let you introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so my name is Everlyn Kasina. I call myself a Family I.T Consultant. I have a background in computer science. I thought of doing corporate, but at some point I felt it was too flooded. But I also felt like what I really needed to do was not coming out. So I leaned more into protecting homes. And then, of course, when I became a mother, I just thought, oh my goodness, the things that I'm blocking people from, accessing, they're just within our radar.
Yes.
It's the phone, it's the TV, it's the iPad that you're giving your child.
Okay.
At the playground, somebody has a gadget. So I narrowed down my specialty to the family.
Okay.
Then I did another degree in education.
Wow.
So digital learning, to just see how I can incorporate them. Tech and education together.
Wow.
Yes. So,
Karibu sana. Yeah, me, I need you in my life.
Everybody does. I think we all need an Evelyn.
Yes, because we are in the technology age. That's something we're not going to run away from. We are in the age of technology, and we are at the age where our children are interacting with technology from a very, very early age. Yeah. So as parents, I don't know about parents out there, but I personally feel like I need a lot of guidance on how I'm supposed to navigate all this. I'm a mother of 3. I have 2 teenagers and I have a younger child who's 7 years. And they are all now having to go online, especially with COVID. Yeah. What changes have we seen since COVID on interaction with,
I just realized 2-3 weeks ago, we would not have survived COVID without the internet.
Yeah, that's true. So there's the good side of it, obviously.
And every time I'm speaking to parents, children, the one thing that I always make sure that comes out very clearly and strongly is the internet is not a bad place.
Yeah.
It's just and I give an analogy of like having a knife. In the kitchen, it's a useful tool.
Yes.
But in somebody else's hand who has bad intentions, it can be a weapon. And so, of course, the internet in itself is an amazing place. I really thank God we do have it.
Yes.
Because if you think about how our parents lived, it seems really boring.
We can't understand.
Right?
We can't even wrap our minds around it. And now our children cannot even understand how they live.
Without the internet.
Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like we all need to embrace the fact that we are in a dispensation we can't change.
Yeah.
But also getting into it knowing that there will be difficulty, but not really focusing on the difficulty, because there's so many other things your children will do on the internet that you'll be, wow.
Yeah.
My 7-year-old, now she's 8. She codes games online. Yeah. So sometimes when I tell people, I'm a Family I.T Consultant, and the first thing is like, do you know what our children are watching online? I'm like, yes. Yeah. But you also know what they can do online.
Yes.
And that changes because your face has just lit up.
Yeah. You know why? Yeah. Because my children are self-taught, and the internet has been a big place where they've taught themselves what they know. Yeah. They're very artsy. My firstborn daughter loves to draw and loves to crochet, just like her mother, and she learns a lot online because that's where she gets patterns, and that's where when I go and see what she looks at online, it's about drawing, how to draw a face, how to draw muscle, how to draw this and that. So they've learned so much online. My second-born daughter is into digital art. I don't even know what that is. Yes. But she draws now digitally, and all their skills. This is not something I tried to do music. I hired music teachers, and they did all that, and then they just gravitated to another line, and they learned everything they know a lot online. Yeah.
And I think one of the things that we need to encourage parents is just that understanding. Like, yes, I'm giving my child the opportunity to be in this space.
Yes.
And I want them to understand that there could be potential harm. And when that harm comes, we are going to deal with it this way.
Yeah.
But let me allow you to self-regulate. I keep saying, if you're regulating your child or you're that hawk parent, that's just like a second job. And it's full-time with no benefits.
And the minute you start regulating, it causes people to now want to even sneak and now hide. It's like, the minute you want to withhold, point, the curiosity is sparked for them.
And for children, that curiosity is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just we need to help them manage it. Of course, letting them know that there are certain things that we need to cover, we need to put boundaries. For them, of course, being very cautious, not to let them get immersed in this world that they forget there's a physical space around them. And when we start getting those things right, I think we're in a good space.
We're in a good space. Because, I mean, as a content creator as well, I'm online. And I'm always online. I'm learning online. There's so much I'm doing online. And even adults need protection in the same space, or rather we need to understand how to navigate this space correctly so that we don't get lost and start doing the wrong things and get into weird addictions.
And speaking of wrong things, there's something you asked me earlier. Yes.
What did we call it? Indecent content, or what?
Age inappropriate.
Age inappropriate content. There's a name you used. Unhealthy content. Yes. Now we go into the world of unhealthy content. So what is unhealthy content?
I like to ask people if given a chance to eat anything in the world, what they would choose to eat, put in their body, right? And you really know exactly what it is you're eating. So if it is cake, it's wheat and there's sugar and there's all these things, additives and stuff. But then at the back of your head, you're like, this cake really is good. But what is it doing to my body? Right?
But a lot of us don't care.
Thank you, right? And then again, you will hear people saying, you can eat broccoli, and you're like, oh God, that tastes bad. It's cucumbers all the time, or you green smoothies and
too strict, leave a little and all that.
So unhealthy things that, anything that you would define that is not good for your consumption. And of course, as adults, we know where the limits are. I keep saying one of the biggest type of unhealthy content would be pornography, for instance, right? But then also, the reason why I did not want us to just delve on that is because that is not the only.
That's not the only.
Right? Our children are being radicalized by very simple things like playing games online, right? They'll meet people, they'll be groomed, and once that is happening, other things just follow. They happen. Of course, there's violent content, and depending on the level of your child, the exposure, the kind of things they're doing, violence can be unhealthy for certain people.
But I think for all people.
Not really, actually. Interesting enough, I was with some 13-year-olds yesterday and I was asking them. They asked me, what is unhealthy? And they said, violence. They're like, really? We watch Avengers. I realized, I've watched Avengers and I didn't feel anything, but I'm an adult, so... Right?
But the reason I say it's unhealthy for everyone is because I'm thinking... You can watch violence or something that is violent, but you don't know what it's doing to you. And you won't even know, maybe until 20, 30 years down the line, when you smack someone on the face as an adult and you realize, oh my God, where did I see that? Or where did I...
Or even just when you relate, like just the other day when we saw some shooting in Texas. This guy who, first shot the grandmother, went to a school and just, started shooting people. It was subtle radicalization through video games. Then, of course, now when somebody gets access to an actual weapon, then I can try this out. Then when they're trying this out, they really don't know the kind of damage they're causing. So yes, violence can be, and it is unhealthy content. But then, of course, what I know very many parents are concerned about is pornography. And because you're seated here and you're a parent, one of the biggest spaces and places where children access pornography is from adult phones, adult devices. Yes, and that is the truth. It is the truth.
I know you saw that survey, and we've referred to it. That was done this month.
Sometime, it was launched
earlier this month. Talking about 50 to 55% of children in Kenya are accessing pornography.
Yes.
More than 12 million. I think I even saw some sites saying, giving even higher numbers. How is that even happening?
It is happening in different spaces. And I'll give you an example. Your child could be innocently playing a video game online. And of course, most of us like the freemiums, the free games. Yes.
Oh, and they come with adverts.
Yes. Okay. Adverts. And in fact, that is one of the biggest.
Because we'll go there, because I have a child.
And you see, for you know how to, click off the advert or just put it out. Some people know how to put ad blockers, but also sometimes the ad blockers don't really work.
Oh, there are such things?
Yes. You can put an ad block on your browser, but not very many people have that technical know-how. Okay, you can put firewalls, but that is an extra software that you have to buy
and install.
And so of course very many people fall into these spaces because they don't know that there's something they can do to protect themselves. And of course now for your child, when they keep seeing this thing is popping, I'm playing a game, I need to focus on this game. This thing keeps clicking. And then somebody here is telling me, I can do this for you, I can do that for you. You click. You talked about curiosity. That's what children do. And once they click, they forget they were playing a game. And that is a rabbit hole. So they click and then it goes to this, it goes to that. And before you know it, they're addicted to watching very unhealthy content.
Whew, that is scary. That is simply scary.
I keep saying also, at the playground, and this is for me just helping parents understand that you can also protect your house as much as possible. It's the same way you take your physical security very seriously. You can't sleep with your door open. You can't sleep with your windows open. You can make sure that, the internet penetrating in your house has all the protection. But your child will go to the playground
at some point. To the playground, to school, to the neighbor's house and all that.
And you have no control.
Like for sure. I mean, if we were to be honest ourselves, as when did we ever see something that is inappropriate in our days? I think most of it used to happen in someone else's house. You've gone to visit a friend and suddenly you come across something and you're like, wow, okay, that's not good. So I think out there is where the trouble is. And how is it happening in schools? Because there was a big mention of
our children, look at the current CBC curriculum. Our children are doing digital learning. So is the school protected enough to have, the computers protected or the internet space connected? Of course, at that specific place, we have adults who have phones. And some of them will give these devices to our children. And kids will also sneak phones to school, by the way.
But I think one of the biggest weakness we have is we want to protect our children from that pornography, but it's the parents. It's not just actually the phone, it's the parents who are watching. It's not actually, we are very good at telling our kids, don't do this, but I'm doing it. That's why when they pick my phone, it's so easy for them to get to those sites. Because you see, if it's not sites I'm visiting, it's a little harder and they would have to search. But now you search,
and actually,
YouTube, your everything.
In fact, the thing is, and this is something that we also don't pay a lot of attention to. You are using a certain app and it downloads content into your gallery. And then your children are playing games. They will find that content in your gallery.
Or somebody is sending content into that space. Because I do remember this is something that my husband had a discussion with. They had a discussion as a class because they were in a group. And they were like, you can't send jokes or this kind of content to our phones because our children access our phones. And it was such a big deal. They had a big fight among themselves. And even some of the guys said, us guys are forming our own groups because we want the freedom to share whatever we want. And some parents are like, hey, listen, I don't want my kids to come and pick my phone
and then
find this as in my chat or in my gallery. How do I explain to them that
you actually lose moral authority? Yes, you do.
And there's no way of telling, it's not me, it's someone else who sent,
And so, of course, with the plan that just came out, one of the things is to help parents understand, there are different levels to the access of your child. The first one being home. And of course, when your kids are not home and it's a school-going season, they're in the school. So they spend quite a bit of time there. And then, of course, now with the post-COVID, I know we are still in the COVID season, but post-COVID, their playground is hybrid. So you'll find very few children actually outside playing. So they're either playing with people they do know, but through technology. And so, of course, their playground also starts expanding because I know somebody who is in the US, I'll plug them in, which means now that space that our children have decided to go into does not have boundaries. Other kids know people from different jurisdictions, So when they get in there, people are sharing culture, they're sharing, political views, they're sharing different religions. And at that particular point, because maybe for me, how I was brought up, I don't really have, issues watching whatever unhealthy content is. I'll share them with the people that I'm with. And that becomes an issue that we need to talk about because when we grew up, our parents knew when we were going there, we know each other. So I'll say I was at Akina Nani's place, right? But right now, there's that Nani who I don't know who that is.
And that is online. All that is happening online. But physically, this is where, as parents, we are having to become careful with things like parties and sleepovers.
Yeah.
Now your child comes and tells you, my friend is having a birthday, I want to attend their birthday, it's going to be overnight, and that goes in any direction. It could be physical harm, drugs, alcohol, or whatever it is they'll be accessing online. Wow.
There's a parent who's sharing with me a conversation. I had to really calm them down because they started at a very high note. Of course, he has given me permission to share. And, it was, they realized that their kids had been exposed to pornography by their sibling. So that is the uncle to the children. And it is through that.
The parent sibling.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah. So it also could be
when
in your
you
home.
house a sibling and all that. Yeah.
So of course at that point you start having conflict because these are my children, your family. This is family.
Yeah.
So how do you start dealing with this?
Yeah. But I think cousins, older uncles, those have been classic weaknesses in bringing unhealthy or weird content into our homes, even for our age, because I think most of us can say that is the avenue that we interacted with things we shouldn't have interacted with.
And when you talk to kids, because I do, and when some of these things do happen, they're like, but this is a trusted person. This is somebody in our house. When mommy says I need to listen to this person, I'm conflicted.
The house help.
They're really conflicted. So we just need to be able to first and foremost understand that taking care of your child is your responsibility. And when you're giving them access to this stuff, like when you're buying your child a phone, you're giving it to them, it should be something that comes as a responsibility to them. So how do you prepare your child adequately to tell them that, okay, but I've given you this phone and I know you'll be tempted to start getting into these spaces. Like you have a 13-year-old.
Yes.
Today they'll come and tell you, right now I can be on Instagram because the age limit is 13.
Yeah.
And when that happens, it shouldn't shock you.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to sit down and understand, okay, how do we then go through this?
Yes.
Can we get into one app at a time so that we see what we are posting, what we are consuming, what is out there, how we are going to balance our time?
Yeah.
Can we read the community guidelines, Because these are the things that will help your child realize, by the way, when my mom is not around, I'm responsible.
Yeah.
Of course, when I'm teaching them in class, I always keep telling them. For instance, when it comes to, again, unhealthy content, somebody tells you to send a nude online. As a parent, if you see a nude photo or a video of your child, you'll really feel very bad.
Oh, yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's not your nude photo, it's theirs. And they will have to live with the consequences of that image out there.
Yeah.
So I give them that understanding that, by the way, what is on your social media platform? It's your responsibility.
Actually, that makes me think of something. When I was at that age of talking to my kids about growing up, there's one day I just told them, if you get a child when you're young, that's your child. It is your responsibility. And by the way, that really resonated. It's like they had a moment of thinking, that's true. You're the one who will go on with your education. And maybe you will at some point, but you're the one who will face the disruption. Yes. You're the one who will carry the burden. You're the one who... And that's something that is important for us to highlight. For them to understand it is your life.
It is that exactly. Is. And in fact, I give them examples and I keep telling them, there are people who really have done amazing stuff by just having their content out there. But of course at a price, right? But then the people who have suffered, and when you give them real examples of even Kenyans here we know, who probably put a tweet or they did something and then they decided, okay, now I regret putting that content out, let me remove it. People had screen grabs. Yeah. So it is still on the internet,
out there.
Right? Yeah. So I keep giving them that and I'm like, you know what? You really, really want to be on this social media. Let's first discuss how we are going to go about it. And of course, now one of the things I tell parents nowadays is don't be in a hurry to tell your children no. Be in a hurry to educate them on how to go about these things. Because it's your responsibility again. Yeah. I'll give you another very classic example. And now this one will just make your mouth close. You want to buy your child a phone. And you actually do get your child a phone and you go to a Safaricom shop or an Airtel shop and get them a SIM card. Who registers for that SIM card? So if your child was to commit crime,
I have 2 registered SIM cards for each of my children. I think one is in my name and the other name is in the dad's name. Yeah. So if they commit a crime, it's on us. Yeah.
It's up to you.
Okay, I've not looked at it that way.
Exactly. And so at that particular point, when you're in a hurry to make your child not feel left out because, they don't have a phone, they're not calling, they're not doing this. When you're giving them that phone, you should have a conversation. If a contract must be drawn, draw one. If there are consequences that have to be laid out, lay them out so that they get to understand that when you're actually doing things, they can have a repercussion on you. Yeah.
And it's important to educate. There's a time my daughter told me someone is calling her. You remember, you know all that scamming thing? Yeah. Someone calls you and creates an emergency. You need to come here, this and this. That happened. And it's something I had never thought of. I hadn't ever told her what to do. She called me and told me what is happening. And I told her, don't pick that call and don't do anything that person is telling you to do. And I realized I never envisioned something like that happening. And herself, she was actually feeling threatened enough to follow whatever that person was telling them. If they're telling them, come outside now, I'm going to do... She was actually panicking. And I'm thinking, if she had been in another situation and she wasn't in the house, she may have acted or just gone into the trap that she was supposed to go into because she didn't know. Yeah. So there's so many things I think we never even think about when we are getting these gadgets and we are letting our children get the gadgets. There's something you posted online a few days ago where you said, if you find your child watching porn or having watched porn, don't beat them. Don't beat them. So now let's go into what do we need to do. First of all, we need to discuss these things. We need to educate ourselves. I think the education part, I don't even feel educated. I need another session with you for education purposes. So now what do? You say
so there's something that triggered that conversation. Multiple calls of parents who are feeling defeated, they're feeling angry, they're feeling sasa huu mtoto nitafanyana naye nini. You get na ni mtoto wako, you know, at the end of the day that child is yours. And I keep saying parenting never ends, because even when they become parents themselves, you will still walk with them through that. And so two things. One, you beat your child because they watched porn. What did you want to achieve?
I don't know, you're thinking I'm at the end of the rope, and I think the only language I need to afflict pain on you so that you remember, that's how I think.
Because that's how
we were dealt with.
Exactly. Yeah. Number two, once you have beaten that child, are they in a space to have a conversation with you and open up, or even tell you what they feel about what they watched? Yeah. Because that is something. If they have reached addiction level, they're going to hide from you and continue doing it one way or the other. Exactly. So the reason why I wrote that, it was just to help parents understand. First, and I've always said this, but people think I'm crazy, that in our day and age, as we're raising children, that conversation will hit you one day. It's a matter of when, not if. Itakushika. Mami, I watched. Mami, I've seen. Daddy. You know what I mean?
Or you catch them.
Or you catch them.
To tell you, Mami,
it is a matter of time. And every time I tell parents, "Su nataka tufanye nini?" What I want you to do is to help your child process what they have seen. Help them process. Some time back I was teaching that this young girl must be 15, 16 years now. And in class, I said, sex is bad. Then she said, are you sure? So I'm like, yes. So it means what adults do is bad.
It's bad.
So it made me realize I need to start changing how the kind of language I'm using. It is age inappropriate. Yes. For a child who's under 18, they cannot engage in sexual intercourse. They can't. Because their bodies, their minds are not ready to process what is happening.
But they can.
They can.
They shouldn't.
See?
They can.
Yes, they can, but they shouldn't. And
helping them understand that, yes, you can, but you should not.
Yeah.
And you should not because Mommy said it's bad, but because of A, B, C, D, spell it out.
Yes. But are we ready to have that conversation?
It's a tough conversation to have.
Yes, it is a very tough conversation.
It's a tough conversation.
We even don't know where to start.
Yeah.
So, when you talk to a child who has gone through the process of being beaten by a parent because they watched porn, and in fact, like the very many instances I have talked to children who have watched porn, they'll be like, by the mtu alinitumia tu link nikafinya. So it was curiosity.
It was curiosity.
I was on someone's phone. I saw people were talking about this thing. I was watching that video game or I was watching something on this movie, a pop-up came. So the thing is, sometimes when we are getting into that space of, I found you watching, even before the child says, but, umempiga. So they're like, okay.
Slap.
And then you see, we are not beating the child because in a way that they understand what they did. You're beating them and going. So where's the finality of why you beat them? It's not like they went and stole sugar and you're beating them because they did something wrong and you're telling them, no, you're stealing. And stealing is wrong. You're not even finishing the process. Because you also don't know how to do it. I know it's a very difficult space, and what I actually do tell parents is at that particular, and that's why I said, please DM me when you're in shock. Go, step aside. If you have to take that gadget at that particular time you found them streaming, take that gadget away so that that particular thing is not happening at that moment. Then you're in shock, just walk away. Go scream, go cry, do something and let that emotion pass. Then go to your child and be as vulnerable. If you have to be vulnerable, be vulnerable.
Be vulnerable.
And you know, you're having a conversation with your child, trying to get to their level to see whether you watched. Ninino Liona, how did it make you feel? Not coming like this. Because when you come like this, they get scared and they start building walls. And when they start building walls, they're keeping you outside. And at some point when you keep that up, they start looking for affirmation, confirmations, and other sources of this information elsewhere. When you do that, you're letting your child get information from people who might not have your value system. You cannot control what your child is being told because, again, the internet has so much information. Other people are putting the information as much as we are putting information out there. So it starts installing other things in your child. And that's why I was saying, please do not beat your child.
Don't beat the child.
Especially when you do not know what you're beating. Yeah? So that is where that comment came from.
I don't even know. Me, I think I'll just say, Jesus, take the wheel.
Then when Jesus takes the wheel?
Because sometimes you just don't even know what to do. I think the one way that I deal personally is I look at myself and truth be told, we all went through this. At some point, you did see something you shouldn't have seen. Let's be real enough to tell our children these things happened to us as well. We found ourselves in that situation. And one thing I look back and tell myself, was I irredeemable? No, I wasn't. I mean, God helped me to overcome that. And of course, now with what we're saying, we'll do the right thing. And just understand that some of these things, I think everyone in this world will have to go through that, whether you're an adult or a child. You will go through.
And you see, for me, I think what the most unfortunate thing, and I keep telling parents, is start building shock absorbers, because for some people, these things will come earlier than you expected. Because I think there are parents who feel, when my child is going through rite of passage, that's when I'll introduce these things, or I'll try and figure out, have they watched?
Do they know?
And then
how much do they know?
What have they know? Can I ask Uncle Flani to go? When I take them for ropes, they'll go and be taught there. So you're almost putting yourself at the back burner, and you're saying, let me wait and see what the teacher will tell them about this. What does the church say? What does the society say? You're not featuring because you don't know how to start it. Start it. It will be uncomfortable. I keep telling parents, watch a movie with your kids. When you see that unhealthy content, look at what they're doing. Look at their body, their expressions, their body language.
Maybe even pause it right there and have a conversation around it.
Because it's it. That is it. In fact, for us right now, we even have the LGBT conversations to start unpacking.
Yes.
We do not know how to unpack it.
I was wondering how to go there.
Yes. But at some point,
we have to unpack.
We will unpack it because we are watching, we are seeing. It is part of society.
Everywhere.
So we can't say, because it is not practiced here.
No. Scratch that. Scratch that. It is practiced here.
No, maybe in our homes.
Maybe in our home it's not.
But of course, in our society,
it's very right.
It is very
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And so at some point we have to sit down and talk about this.
But we are not ready.
We're not ready.
No, I posted that one time. And my DM started flooding with things like, Evelyn, uko sure? I'm like, yes.
One of the ways that I think I have tried to prepare myself for that particular conversation is I've been watching a lot online. Like, America and everywhere, it's a big they're on the other side of the conversation. So I've watched there's even this Christian lady, I forget her name, talking about her journey, how she got out of LGBT and her struggles, why it even happened, and how she got herself into that space. I just listen to them and I hear what they're saying so that I get to understand and I get to see what would I tell a child or my child should they have that struggle. And one thing that hit me, she talked about one of the things that confused her is this whole thing that we teach our children that, pink is girly, dolls or everything. And then you have this girl, this daughter of yours who does not like pink, doesn't care for dolls and all that. And so she begins to see herself as different. Oh my goodness. She talked about that.
Social installation.
Like,
that is radicalization.
I don't even know what to say about that. But I like watching other people who've been through that journey or even just out there, because they're way ahead of us in this conversation, and just hear what they say, how they're dealing with it, how you should answer that question, should it come up in your family. And I don't know, I'm not even near there, but that's one way. Just watch that stuff.
And the thing is, and that is why we are having this conversation, it shouldn't shock you when it happens. You shouldn't be like, oh my God, what just happened?
What just happened?
No, wait for it. The sex conversation, the porn conversation, the violence, wait for it. Because you know what? If it's not you who's going to have it, someone else is going to have it on your behalf. And since you cannot control what other people tell your children, be the person to start it. Or at least have a way to bring it out. Because, and I say the simplest way is when you're watching movies. Because it's somehow, it will appear. Somehow your children will talk about something. Mommy, I heard, what did you hear? How did it happen? What was your contribution? And when you're having those discussions, it opens up.
Wow. Now I'm wondering, should we be having organized conversations, like maybe in a church, in a chama, with your friends, like maybe bring your kids together, ropes, what we talked about, a lot of people are doing these things as a way to be able to talk to their children as a group or something. I think we should be doing more even as a church, and I feel like we're not doing a lot.
We are not doing, and this is why we are not doing a lot. And which is a sad thing for me to say as Kenyans. We all carry fire extinguishers on our back. Tumekuwa tu firefighters. Tunangojanga moto wake.
We're waiting for it to happen. Then we come with our firefighters.
Which is really...
We're not being proactive about this conversation.
We are so reactional as a society, which is so wrong. So because we are not... I mean, when you see smoke, ordinarily, you should know there's fire coming, right? But we see the smoke, we ignore it. So we just put something, we just put all the smoke, we're like,
and then we hope it will not happen to us.
Until the fire
doesn't happen to my children.
Yes.
And then it happens, and here we are.
Because, one of the things I actually say, it is good you brought it up. We need to, clamp them up in the groups they spend time with. If it is in school, let's have more conversation in school. At home, those friends of theirs. Because those are the people whom they spend a lot of time with. And I feel like when your children are talking to people they spend time with, they have those exchanges. Oh, your mother allows you to do that. Why doesn't my mother allow me to do that? But then that doesn't happen in our house. It happens in our house. How can we do this? And you realize, because even when I'm having conversations, especially in those groups, these people teach me a lot. I get out of there and I feel shock. I'm like, at some point I always have to ask myself, am I going to respond as a parent or am the teacher here? Because there is also, I keep thinking about my own children. I think this week I've been going home and feeling so haggard, and I kept looking at my son and I'm like, I'm not sure I'm ready for your social media world. I'm not ready. This is what I do every single day, but I'm not ready. And the reason is, every time I ask even children, have you talked to strangers online? They're like, yeah. How did it start? Hi.
Wow.
Where do you go to school, they say? And in my head, I'm like, you're giving so much information online, and private information for that matter, right? And then I'm like, and how long did this conversation go? Oh no, we are friends now. From Roblox. And these are the things that your children are playing. They're on Discord. And then when I ask parents, can you even name 3 social media platforms your children are in?
Roblox, Discord,
wengine hawajui.
TikTok. TikTok was big. Maybe Snapchat.
Twitch.
IG. Twitch, I have no idea what.
Lobby. There's so many. And you see, the thing is, who bought that phone? Who is buying that internet? You've just given them this tool, but you're not caring what is happening, right? And that is where there's a gap. In fact, I keep telling parents, there will always be a generational gap. But be interested in what your children are interested in. Or make friends. Because like for me, I know for sure, I don't know how TikTok works. TikTok is my partner. I am being taught how to use TikTok by a child, a teenager. Because I'm like, oh, you can use this filter, you can do this, you can do that. I've gone on YouTube and I'm like, okay, fine. Let me just submit that I don't know. But I need to learn. Because for these people, they will go on this platform and it is so plug and play.
And they're so good at this. Just the same way we were good in our days.
Exactly.
In what our parents had no idea. You know, they're so good at it. They're so fast. They get it so quickly. I watch my daughters navigate the phone, even how they swipe and type. I'm like, man, you have super speed.
I know. And then, in fact, like when you're talking to them and you ask them, okay, so you talk to strangers, you've watched inappropriate content, they're like, yeah, how did it happen? Somebody sent me something on DM, I was on Instagram, I was on WhatsApp. I don't even know how they got my number. And they have these narrations. And then one of the saddest things is that when I ask them, and when you saw these things, whom did you tell? And I'm like, no one.
Nobody.
You didn't tell your mom? I can't tell my mom.
Or I didn't even think it's something I should tell my mom. It's because it's normal.
But like sometimes my mom will it will end up being a lecture.
And
she will blow things out of proportion. And that's why we are having this conversation, because you see, when you put up a wall. They put up a wall and you're on the other side.
I think the other thing is, therefore, normalize these discussions. I think we've been told to normalize these discussions in terms of growing up, the changes that are happening in your body, but then now we need to broaden the discussion into all these spaces. That's something I'm trying to do, and of course I am still learning, but normalizing my children just talking, and I have girls.
And you listening.
And me listening, and then even them being comfortable to talk about all this conversation, either in front of mom, in front of dad. There's no hush conversations in the house. Anyone can talk about anything, and they don't feel like, I don't want daddy to hear that, or I don't want mommy to hear that. I don't know how to end this conversation, because I don't.
Is it a conversation that
feel
can
like
end?
It can end. I don't feel like it can end. I'm like, what therefore should we do? I mean,
actually, the thing is, if there's anything we can sum it up with, understand the different aspects and the different people who have access to your child.
Okay.
Primary being home. So who are the people in my home who have access to my children?
All right.
Do they understand what our values are and our boundaries? Okay. So when they're not at home, they're in school. So the school that I've taken my children to, do I understand its values? Do I understand? Have I walked into school and just asked, by the way, is the computer lab protected? Do you people talk about certain things? Right?
Okay.
It's
never done
exactly. Just having conversations with the teachers. Like I ask my son, okay, so in school, are there people who have access to the teachers' phones and stuff like that? Because I'm very aware that sometimes those are the spaces where my kids will access unhealthy content. Okay. So if they're not in school and they're not at home, they're at the playground. So who are these people who are spending time with my children?
Okay.
If it's the neighbor, have I dated this neighbor? Do I know what their values are? If not, what am I supposed to do? Okay. And then, of course, just being ready to be pushed or to be thrown in the deep end without your knowledge, but just saying, and even just letting your children know, you brought up a topic, I'm not very conversant with it. Can we pack it?
Go and do my research.
Because we don't know everything.
We don't know everything.
There's a lot with it. Then you can just pack it, so that also you let them know, okay, fine, I've heard you. I don't have the answer, but I'm going to look for the answer. Then we can talk about it. Or can we Google it together? Just having those conversations. And I think that is where we can be, as opposed to chilling
so
and
we need
thinking.
to be proactive.
Because there's a time, sometime back, people would say, these things only happen in other countries. And then now with the internet, hakuna boundary. So it's happening even here. So because the conversation really can't end, what you can do also is stop being reactive. Start being proactive. Start knowing that there's a Capone conversation coming. Evelyn has told you. You can't say you don't know. Irene has told you. You can't say you
Irene
don't know.
is in that boat.
Because everybody now is talking about LGBTQ and plus. Because there is a plus.
IQ plus. There are many.
You can't wait.
You have to be proactive.
Just learn about it.
It and go online and watch and hear how these conversations are being had and how they're being dealt with.
And also align them with your own values, because of course how you will have it with your children is based on who you are. And who we are as a family. Then of course now when your children bring it up, that foundation that you have been setting is the one that you will stand on. So you're like, as a family, this is who we are. This is unhealthy content. This is our boundaries. This is how we can have this conversation. and you're arming them, because you're not always with your children. That's the truth. You just arm them to tell them, you know what, if you have to watch content, pre-screen it. And I know we will talk about this, but you're letting them know who we are as a family and these are our values. And that's where we need to begin.
Wow. Unhealthy content, guys. That was unhealthy content. We are trying to have a conversation about what to do with our children and the children we are raising, and everyone in the family, for that matter, on the issue of unhealthy content. I hope you have learned something from that conversation. I know you have a lot of questions. Just send them. We will figure out whether... I really feel we have to revisit some of these things and break it down even further. Evelyn, thank you so much for sitting down with me and talking to me about unhealthy content. I have a lot of work to do in terms of just setting up the right controls and the right boundaries in the house. Irene, and this is Hairy Lifestyle. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't. Hit that notification button. Leave any comments or any questions you have down below. Thank you for joining me today. Kwaherini sana. Bye.